They want me to do a shop tour. Should I do a shop tour? You're not helping. All right, come on.
Hi, I'm Drew Fisher and welcome to Fisher Shop. I've had a few requests for a shop tour, so that's what we're going to be doing today. Let's get to it. So just as you come into my shop, on the wall on the left I have all of my table saw jigs, and they're just hanging up on little French cleat brackets that I've made. I think this one by far has got to be my favorite. This one is my finger joint and box joint jig with custom templates that you can put on to make the box joints any size you want. I made all these hold down clamps as well, and those work on all the jigs, which are very handy. And I mean, speaking of handy, it's a great way to store them because whenever you want to use them, they just pop right off these little brackets and then right back on when you're all through with them. All right, so this OSB contraption is my very first attempt at making shop furniture years and years ago. It's held up quite nice, but I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't even have any hinges to make it, so I actually made my own hinges out of 2x4 and nails, and they've held up well. I mean, they work, but it's just a little bit less than ideal, as you can imagine. It holds up my planer, and I built the whole thing on top of a Harbor Freight dolly down here, which you can pick up super cheap. So the fact that I can roll it around the shop has been really nice. This guy here is the Fisher's Flipkart, and what's really unique about this one is that it has integrated power. So both these tools are already powered up and ready to be used. And if you wanted to use the disc sander down below, you just pull the cart away from the wall a little bit, unlatch the window sash lock on the side, and give it a flip. It locks into place at the positive stops with just one lock in the back corner, and you're ready to go. So it makes it really handy because you don't have to mess with plugging each tools in and running extension cords, that sort of thing. Everything is ready to go. So very quick and handy. And next to the Flipkart is my bandsaw. It has a 14-inch resaw capacity and a pretty nice fence. And both those things have come in super handy. On the back side, I just kind of rigged up a little hook where I can store all my bandsaw blades just above it. So some of you are probably wondering, where does he get those stupid flathead screws he keeps using in his videos? And the answer is right here. All these bins were my grandfather's when he was alive doing woodworking. So all the nuts and bolts and screws and everything that's found in here were his. And it's fun for me to try to bring things full circle and integrate them into my project because it puts a little bit of my grandfather in there as well. So that's fun for me. Up here I have all my assorted glues and epoxies, and over here we have just cutting tools and scissors and razor blades and that sort of thing. Here I have my vise. I don't have a proper woodworking vise yet, and I need to get one. So until that happens, I've been using this mechanics vise, and I replaced the metal jaws with hardwood so it doesn't mar up my wood when I clamp it in there. And let's see, other things I have. My Drew's Bench sign, I've had some questions about that. My brother actually made that for me in 1984. So I was 9 years old at the time, and I had a little kid's bench down in the basement next to my dad's, and he made that for me, and I have saved it ever since. So that's what that's about, and yeah, that's about it for this area. So the way I've chosen to organize the tools in my shop is using the French Cleat methodology, and what that means is I needed to run long horizontal cleats all along the wall, and then I could make individual tool holders for each one where they could rest or hang in. And It's proven to be extremely versatile and has given me lots of opportunities to be creative and making some pretty clever little tool holders. So let me show you what some of those are. So I've always liked this one. Maybe it's because of just how I had to shape these pieces to get it to exactly match the profile. And it's just very satisfying to slide it in there into place. And it holds it perfectly. And some of them don't need to be that complicated. Like for this one, it's just literally 2 pieces of wood glued onto a board, and the speed square just rests in there. This one is very similar. There's a little notch that holds it to keep it from falling out, but that just rests in there like that. For some of my drill bits, I created these, and this one is actually a magnetic one, so there's embedded magnets that can hold my miscellaneous bits up there. This one is just for my Forstner bits. It has them evenly spaced out and very easy to access. And this one's got to be my favorite. This is just my grandfather's bit set, but I put it on this little rotating table that spins around so that I can access it from all sides and get any size that I need. All right, so now we're in the back corner of the shop, and I have another workbench / assembly table. This one is very much like the other one in that it has integrated power, but what's different is that it also has integrated air. There is a black iron pipe system running along the length of the bench underneath, and it's all plumbed into an air compressor down below, which I have wired to this switch here. So when I flip this, the air compressor will turn on, fill up, and then I can use any of the tools that I have connected up to the 3 ports that I have along that pipe. So it makes it very convenient to just use whatever tool you want. You don't have to mess around down on your hands and knees plugging it into the compressor. For the surface, I'm just using a sheet of melamine, and then when I let it get all marred up with cuts and drill holes and whatnot, then I just kind of flip it over and I've got a brand new surface. And then when it gets too bad, I can just replace it. And melamine is pretty cheap. And just on the other side of that, I have the armor workbench, which is acting as my table saw outfeed and my drill press. And you can also see how I have extended the French Cleat tool wall down the other side of the shop. So this brings us to the heart of the shop, and that is the table saw. I have the SawStop Pro Cab 1.75 with the T-Glide fence and overarm dust collection. And I also put in the Woodpecker's router lift extension table off to the left of it. And where space is at a very minimum in my shop, this has been invaluable. Additionally, I have a dedicated 4-inch dust collection system hooked up to the back of the table saw. You can see it down there in the bottom right of your screen. And that is hooked up to a sensor switch so that whenever I turn on the table saw, that also turns on. Since they both draw too much to be on the single 20 amp circuit, I actually have them split to 2 different circuits so that I'm not in danger of popping a breaker. But here it is just as an example. Back behind the table saw, I have my mobile miter station cart. This has wings on both sides that fold up and supports that come out to give you all the support that you would need for making long cuts. I have integrated T-track and stop blocks on both sides, as well as small cubbies for tools and that sort of thing. The great thing about it is that it all folds up and becomes a small form factor so as not to waste space. Additionally, I decided to get the Bosch Miter Saw. It has a unique sliding mechanism here in the back where it actually folds instead of sliding on bars, which allows you to push everything flush up against the wall, really minimizing the footprint. I've made my own custom dust shroud for the saw, which sits just behind the fence. The vacuum port I put right down inside of it, so this allows me to capture even more dust for 90-degree chops, and this has proven to be remarkably effective. Underneath the saw, I have the dedicated shop vac and cyclone system for the saw, along with a sensor that automatically turns it on as soon as the saw is engaged. So just as you're coming into my shop, on the right hand side I have my clamp wall, and it pretty much takes up the entire wall. I've got parallel clamps and squeeze clamps and spring clamps, F-style clamps, band clamps, corner clamps, 90-degree clamps. I got all kinds of clamps, but yet I'm still always a clamp or two short whenever I do my projects. So I'll have to figure out how I can squeeze some more in there. Down below that I have my jointer, and then that pretty much wraps up this area of the shop. And now if we head back here, I got a few more things to show you. So for starters, this is kind of the main dust collection that I have for everything other than my miter saw and table saw. It's just a shop vac hooked up to a cyclone onto this big drum. And then you notice that I have two hoses here that come off. One of them is for the CNC area here, and the other one goes all the way back into the shop, and I'll show you where that goes right now. You can see it coming out of the blast gate there. It travels along the bottom edge of the wall behind my miter saw, and then also behind my table saw. It then gets coiled up underneath the router table extension, which is basically directly in the center of my shop area. And from there, it can easily reach all the other tools in the shop that need dust collection. And in order to make it fit just right, I've had to make some custom PVC and wood hose adapters. So this is my homemade plywood blast gate that I made. It just wides off of the cyclone, and then you slide this piece back and forth depending whether or not you want to use the hose for the main part of the shop or for the X-Carve. And of course I had to put a little unnecessary walnut on there. And with this wireless remote, I can turn on the dust collection for the shop with just a push of a button. So I call this area the robot room. This is where I keep my CNC. I have the X-Carve from Inventables. It's the 750 model, so it's the medium-sized one. It's not the really big one, just because I don't have the space for it. And it's not the little one because I still wanted enough room on there to do some of the projects that I had in mind. And so far this has worked out to be just a perfect solution for me. It's a lot of fun to work with. I was very skeptical getting it to begin with, but once I got it, just the lights turned on and all these doors started to open up with possibilities of what I could do with it. And it has really proven to be a lot of fun and augmenting the woodworking that I'm learning to do. I made this little computer stand and bit holder for it. It just clamps onto the table leg so I can remove it if I need to. Behind there I have some storage shelves for calling boards and drawer slides and other kind of miscellaneous junk. And then we have lumber over here. Let me show you that. Very much like how I hang my tools out in my shop, I decided to make a French cleat lumber rack. I started by reinforcing the wall back here with some more studs, and then I created these real beefy horizontal cleats and anchored them into it. Following up that, I made a whole series of these brackets that are mortise and tenoned in, so they're super strong. It's allowed me to be versatile and adjust the system depending on what kind of stock I have, what kind of lumber, and how I need to store it. And it's held up very, very well, and I couldn't be happier with it. Now down below the lumber rack I have this table here, which usually just ends up collecting cut-offs or decorative strips or pieces that I can use to accent some of my future projects. Down here in this tub I have my bucket of walnut cut-offs, which I save so that I can use them in the most unnecessary way possible. And just adjacent from the lumber rack is where I keep all of my sheet goods, and I just have them all stacked up and filed away here underneath the staircase. So also right here is where the drum sander and the benchtop mortiser live. Now I don't operate them here, mainly because I can't. I have no power outlets here. I need to install some more outlets in this robot room so that I could, but another reason why I don't is because I don't really have any good dust collection back here, and I'm right next to the furnace, and so I don't want to be blowing dust all throughout the house. So whenever I want to use them, I just kind of cart them right out into the main shop, and they're both on castered carts, which makes that real easy to do. Just like that. All right, and now I'm ready to use it. And down below this, I keep my finish sprayer. Let me tell you a few things about this. So this is the Ehrlich Spray Station 5500. Ehrlich is the sponsor of this video, and so I just wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit about this. It is by far the best HVLP sprayer that I've ever used, and I'm being completely honest. What I like most about it is just how everything is one cohesive unit and it's all compact. So the power cable wraps around the bottom, and the air hose wraps around the blower motor, and even the gun fits inside of here. It's a Teflon coated spray cup, so it's super easy to clean out. The spigot is tilted so you can spray at just about any angle. Very, very easy to use, very sensitive. You can adjust it so it fits your liking and it sprays soft or it sprays hard. You can change the angle of the spray, and it's just a wonderful gun and a very well thought out sprayer. So go check them out at ehrlich.com and pick yourself up this 5500 sprayer. You will not regret it, I promise you. Well, that wraps up the very first Fisher shop tour. I hope you enjoyed it. It'll be neat to see how the shop changes in like 2 to 3 years or so. What gets added, what gets replaced, or new things that I come up with. So maybe I'll have to do another one of these in the future. Hey, if you're brand new here, please be sure to subscribe. And if you wanted any more detail on any aspect of the shop that you found interesting, maybe the miter saw station or the Flipkart or the table saw jigs or anything like that, I have lots of other videos on my channel that go into great detail about each one of those. So be sure to check those out. Well, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care. Unlatch the lock, hit the wall, make a fool of yourself, leave a dent in it, and look stupid. Freaking neighbor on his motorcycle. I swear, I'm gonna disassemble that thing in the middle of the night. Mail all the parts to various countries. Some real beefy horizontal cleats. And, oh, jeez. Whew. About wet my pants. Hi, I'm Drew Fisher, and welcome to another Fisher Shop video. Oh,